Blue White Illustrated here at Beaver Stadium. James Franklin just wrapped up his press conference discussing Rutgers, but really the firing of Mike Yurcich and the decision to move on at offensive coordinator for the Nittany Lions after another bad performance against Michigan, where in the competitive portion of the game, when they weren't down in desperation time, they scored 9 points. 6 points against Ohio State. James Franklin referenced that as you've got to play your best against the best, and he didn't feel like they have done that historically. Nate, and that's where I'm going to bring in Nate Bauer, Blue White Illustrated senior editor. That's kind of the general sense that we were talking about a little bit earlier. Can you kind of expound on that?
Yeah, I pulled a stat yesterday. Penn State has lost 10 games now over the past 3 years. So for the duration of Mike Yurcich's tenure, they went 7-6, 11-2, and now they are 8-2. And in those 10 losses, non-garbage time points. So you get 4 in overtime against Illinois. There's some late, right? Ohio State, both of these games, there were late touchdowns that weren't consequential to the outcome.
Right.
If you look at those games and boil it down and take out some of those numbers, the average points per game for Penn State is 12.7 in those 10 losses. And that's not enough points. I want you to do all of the analysis and explaining, and I am the dumb guy that just kind of sees what's there. And what I would say is probably an echo of what James Franklin just said in his press conference, which is that's not good enough. Those performances are not good enough, and it is a web of reasoning behind why those performances haven't come to fruition.
Yeah.
But the guy that's in charge of that specific unit, the one area that has been inconsistent, or consistently, I should say, consistently underperforming, is Mike Yurcich over the last 3 years. And so that's the decision that James Franklin made.
Well, that's the simple answer. There you go. That's what
you guys on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll see you later. That is correct, right? So boilerplate, bottom line, you've got to get it done, and they have not been able to get it done consistently on offense, and we've seen it this year. Fans have pointed it out. It is obvious that the offense has not clicked. I guess then, and this is the question I asked James Franklin, and this is just where my brain is going to go, is, okay, so execution of the game plan is one thing, whether that's the players or the play caller in those certain situations. And he kind of addressed that before I asked the question of, okay, so that was not to your liking. Not getting certain play calls, not getting Drew in a rhythm, # establish the pass. But secondarily, is the plan good?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why are we doing it? How are we doing it? And is that good enough to win? And what is the environment around that to make the offense successful? And that goes to not just Mike Yurcich, but also, like, what is the establishment of factors around the offense, from personnel to vision for what the offense is going to be. And like, we spent a good 20 minutes here talking. Inconclusive is where we came to on our evaluation of that. But I guess, Nate, just to kind of continue that conversation, it's not as simple as what you said, but the bottom line, that is true. How does the next guy fix that? And is the next guy, the importance of that, I think, is paramount, of fixing whatever the offensive issues for the last 3 years were from a structural issue. And I know I'm going on long here, but they've had 2 or 3 different iterations of this offense that have been okay, except for 2022, which was pretty good.
I feel like there is a fundamental misunderstanding of the constantly changing nature of college football. It's about the ability to adapt to what you have. Yeah. It's about the ability to pull in what you want. It's about all of those things. It's about right. So even what you're just talking about, it's a threefold process, right? You've got the front end. You've got this week of game planning. You've got this week of practicing. All of that is on the front end. You've also got 7 months of off season where you are deciding what you're going to be. Look, I had 2 kind of memorable interviews with Mike Yurcich this offseason. One in January, actually not January, it was December 31st in LA before the Rose Bowl, and another in June. And he said that they would be the offense that we saw this year.
Right.
In both of those interviews, he described it exactly as what came to fruition, as something where your running backs are so talented, you have so many questions about the receivers, you have a young quarterback, all of those things lead to the type of, I don't know if conservative is exactly the right word, but
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to what the game plan is. Is you're playing off of your defense, right?
Yep.
They're just all of these different factors that play. Look, I don't want to go back to 2014 and 2015, but it's all strategy, right? Like you're playing to what your strengths are, and if you have a very good defense, then you can feel comfortable in not having to take that many chances to get the points that you need. But also, you have to take some, and you have to be able to combine it all, get it all together on the one day of the year, one day of the week, I should say, that it matters twice a year in this case. And in Mike Yurcich's case, over the past 3 years, excuse me, that hasn't happened.
Yeah, and that is, again, the bottom line of that is absolutely true. And it'll be interesting to see what the next person in that position is able to do. And I guess that's then the next thing. James Franklin outlined a little bit of that.
Drew Aller's going to be a different quarterback next year.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be a different person. That's what happens over time is you get better or worse, but you don't stay the same, right? Like personnel is going to change. There are going to be different receivers at Penn State next year. It is incumbent on Penn State, the program, James Franklin being the leader of that program, to ensure that the pieces that are there to work with are better. That is development, that is strength and conditioning, that is the portal, that is recruiting, all of that stuff, to make sure that those pieces are in place for the next guy to have an opportunity to succeed. And more important, for Drew to be able to succeed, right? Like to put Drew in a position where he has the players around him and it becomes on him to live up to that opportunity when it comes.
And that, I think, is really the point. The only point I care about, really, in this conversation is that of how do you get your quarterback to play up to his potential, because his potential is significant. And that was not established in any way this year. There was no development from Drew Aller where we saw flashes of him being very good. And the problem was, Nate, and I guess this is the thing that I've been talking about and thinking about, is it's all situational. Maryland, you know what's coming from that perspective of Maryland ran a very specific scheme where I think Penn State accurately predicted the situations they were going to be into, and Drew was loose and confident through the football down the football field. In the game against Michigan, Michigan did things that they, like last year, didn't put on tape before because they could, because of their schedule and their situation. And the quarterback not playing confident from week to week is a problem. And the quarterback needs to be supported by his players, his coaches, the ecosystem. That's the point I'm trying to say, and I think that's why the offensive coordinator is fired here, because it feels like week to week the ecosystem changes for the quarterback, and that level of trust we talk about with the receivers. Maybe it is static. Maybe that's the part that's static, is the level of trust that the quarterback has in what's in front of him and who he's throwing to. It just feels like that has been a huge limiting factor in a season. We thought that would be what elevates them from a perspective of the quarterback has difference-making skills, and we've seen him put it on film that he can mentally do the game.
We can't not acknowledge that Drew's missing receivers, too.
Yeah.
We can't not acknowledge that the receivers don't know what they're doing at times in the game. I'm not saying that's all the time, but
it's clear. In big situations, we've seen it. And you can check out T. Frank's film room. We're pointing out a couple more of those this week.
It's just, we always want things to be simple. I think bottom line production is simple. That's the simplest way to put. Why did James Franklin fire Mike Yurcich? Because they scored 12.6 points a game in the biggest games of their season. Bottom line. Why was Mike Yurcich not successful? Why was the production not there? A litany of reasons. Literally a laundry list, execution, personnel, you name it, the plan itself. I think that is absolutely fine to say that. It's just, look, we could talk about this all day and we shouldn't.
I was gonna say, I'm out. Like we've covered the things. I don't know what's next, so take us out here, Nate. Please play us out.
No, this is the beginning of the fork in the road, right? Of where does this go from here? Because fans are out. They're out. They don't believe, and that is an earned belief on their part. They have no reason within reason, okay, and that includes last year. They're looking at really 4 years of disappointment in a row in terms of their highest expectations. Utah in the Rose Bowl, that's a nice win. Other than that, there's really truly not a lot that you can point to. We're not going to talk about the COVID season. That was garbage. But point being is you don't have that trajectory as a program right now to be excited about from the outside. And a big part of that lack of excitement is the fact that the offense looks like Iowa, right? There's a parallel here, right? Why Iowa is 8-2. They are beating teams. Their offense is putrid. So Iowa fans think, hey, we stink. Penn State fans think, hey, we stink because the offense is bad, and they're right. They're right. It is not a brand of football that anybody's going to be excited about, and that anybody is going to believe leads to the type of success that they want to have against the best teams in the country. So now they got to figure it out. Now they got to figure it out, and it is on James Franklin and the university itself, right? Pat Kraft's going to be involved in this, the size of the checkbook to bring in the guy that you want. All of those things will factor in, and they've got a big Herculean task in front of them to hire the guy that can resolve some of these issues.
Nate, I think the ecosystem before this video wasn't great. I didn't know where we were going, but you steered us in the right direction. You led us to success. Excellent. Well said. We're going to see what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months with Penn State football, how they're going to fix this issue. And this guy, along with the rest of the staff at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com, is going to give you the inside information you need to find out whether you should have hope or not. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. I just watched the film and tell you what happens on the football field. That's coming up. He's got more stuff for you at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. Make sure you subscribe. And if you're watching this video and you're feeling frisky, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.